Anything is possible. You can remove all obstacles.
Let it be a reminder that you can do anything, and together we can make a difference. Peace is a process, not an event. Follow the path. You can pray the devil back to hell. Water, peace, spirit, love the sick. To have some peace talks and show a little honor. To have some peace to make sure your dreams come true.
Hello and welcome to May Peace Be With You. I am your host, Justin. My guest today quotes her father a lot, so I wanted to quote mine. If you're going to do something, do it well. So I decided if I'm going to host a podcast, I must use the proper equipment. So I'm introducing my brand new setup with my friend Molly Bernard Patoff. Molly and I only recently just met, but I loved her energy and I loved her eccentricities. So today we discuss growing up Patoff, and she filled me with great nuggets of Patoff wisdom. Molly is definitely a life liver. She will not let others dictate the circumstances of her life, which I greatly respect. Molly would say, "My life is not a dress rehearsal. You really got one crack at it." Molly said something else, which will really stick with me. She said, "Have your feet on a solid foundation of morality." And morality is a complex subject. But I think that there's a lot of common ground on what we consider to be moral. And if one is a moral person, I think that the path towards peace becomes easier. Your burdens are not compounded by immoral action. It was such a joy drinking mimosas and conversing about life with my friend Molly. I would like to say thank you for your time and please enjoy. L'chaim.
And we're starting off with your cheers, right?
Please, cheers.
Cheers, my friend. And then I like to say, here's to those that wish us well. All the rest can go to hell.
L'chaim.
Exactly. L'chaim. To life, baby.
Well, hello and welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining me. I remember when I asked you initially, you said yes. And I didn't really give you any context. You're like, yeah, sure. I'm like, oh, great. No context needed. So once you read all the material, I hope that, it made you a little interested in joining.
Of course.
So let's start off. You have a birthday coming up. Do you have any plans?
I do. The first day of spring. I sprang on out for us all. No, I don't. Whatever happens, happens. That's how we're doing it this year.
So what is the window that one is able to celebrate their birthday?
You know what? It's like a Polish wedding. We could do all month. We could do 2 months.
I didn't know that. I like that.
Welcome to Molly Bernard's life.
That sounds like a party. Are you Polish yourself?
I'm Irish and Russian.
Irish and Russian. Okay. Well, they know how to party as well. I'm Mexican. We know how to party as well. So come from a good lot.
I hang out with all my good friends are Polish. My cousins are Polish. So
Have you been to a Polish wedding?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, super cool.
Yeah.
So, do birthdays influence personality?
Do birthdays?
Mm-hmm.
Are we talking your sign? Oh, I'm definitely a Pisces. I'm the last zodiac sign. I'm a cusp, so I'm all water, and I'm a day before it becomes Aries. So everybody calls me and like, yo, you're full of flame. You're full of all this fire. But even though I'm all water. So, exactly.
That's a good cusp to be at, the water and fire.
Exactly. So I definitely think a sign says a lot about somebody. Absolutely.
Well, I have a late spring birthday, and I always like that because it's the beginning of summer. So my party is to kick off the summer, and, it's kind of hit or miss sometimes with the weather. But how do you feel having a birthday early spring?
I love it. It's like a rebirth. It's like a renaissance. So it's like you're shedding what was and you're letting what is.
I love that.
So it's what I always like to say, inhale the good shit, exhale the bad shit. And that's my birthday.
Yeah, easier said than done, though, at exhaling the bad stuff. Because sometimes breathing.
You have to.
Well, breathing is a part of meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Learning how to control one's breath. In doing so, I definitely try to inhale positivity, exhale negativity, and sometimes that negativity gets kind of overwhelming, and it's like, no matter what I'm breathing, it's just right where it laid.
So what you're saying, like that positive. I always say, I always like to be positive than negative. Negative corrodes a vessel. When you are positive and you err on the side of positivity, your whole world opens up. And I like to live my life I was raised by my parents always saying the 5 rule, Molly. And the 5 rule in our Patoff, we always say growing up Patoff is our saying from the time we were little, is this going to impact your life in 5 years? You could have a shitty day, but for 5, is it the 5 rule? Will it matter in 5 minutes, 5 moments, 5 years? Mm-hmm. If it's not going to impact, and this is the pimple of life, as my great-grandmother said, fuck it. Don't waste any more energy in that.
Yeah.
Go on. Put your energy about that bad day into creating a new moment. We're not guaranteed 5 minutes from now, so why are you going to fester and let it eat away at you?
Yeah, and eat away it does, because there is a physical weight that one bears when they dwell.
Yeah.
And it can affect your health. It can give you as little as a cold, as much as cancer.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
When did you develop a passion for organic farming?
I fell into it when I was with my partner in 2018, and it was in a room where they said females couldn't do anything, mm-hmm. and I believe the lady upstairs puts people in your life for a reason, mm-hmm. and in that moment, we happened to be in a room where I am little, but I'm very almighty, and I was in a corner and I heard women can't do anything. This is not what's gonna happen. And I'm like, okay, I'm in one male-dominated industry. Okay. And I looked at my partner and I said, if this is something that we want to entertain and do, you know me, let's grab these bulls by the horn of life and let's shake it and let's do it. And I haven't looked back since.
So what's your role in organic farming? Because you don't grow potatoes.
Don't grow potatoes, no. So the weed industry. So cannabis.
What are people smoking generally, and what do you produce?
So we are the growers. So every state is different. Right
Mm-hmm.
now it's the wild, wild west. As you know, each state is still, figuring out rules and regulations. But I am a grower. My people are the botanist. So they are the ones with the green thumb. They're the ones who know everything. And the reason why I say organic is you go to all these farm meetings or whatever, and you have these people from organizations, and I'm saying these people because I don't want to use names, and they're in hazmat suits. You can't say that you're green and you're in hazmat suits. To me, that's just baffling. No, you're not organic if you're literally spraying. But no, to me, organic is if you're barefoot, what you are giving the plants, you're putting it in your body. Mm-hmm. So,
or willing to anyway.
Terms of organic is used lightly, and especially big chains, big produce companies. Again, they're saying organic, but then they're in hazmat suits.
Well, that leads me to my next question is, when I go to the grocery store, and I do try to shop organic, to what extent am I actually eating organic food?
So I hate when people go to a grocery store and they're organic. It's a lie. You're paying more for organic. Organic is farm to table. That's organic. We don't have the luxury. So go to Jewel and you just buy the food. Don't remove the word organic. Half the time, their corporations are just literally, it's like the word skinny.
Yeah, it's
laughing. They slap it on there and, oh my God, skinny. And they're getting money off of it. Nay. This is not the reality.
I mean, is there any difference if I buy organic lettuce and
no!
Organic lettuce?
Really? It's bananas. You go to Whole Foods. When you flip over and you look at the ingredients and there's a lit, that's not organic.
Yeah.
So that's what I get baffled. You always look at the ingredients. It should be, this is what it is.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know at what point I decided to start reading the label every single time. and the dyes and the all the long technical words that I can't pronounce. It's like, what are these things, and what effect do they have on the food? What effect do they have on my body?
Horrific. So my whole life, I have been high fructose intolerant. So high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah.
It's a lab-created sweetener.
That I do avoid.
That is in everything.
Yeah.
That is in everything. So as a child, before there was Whole Foods, I had my dad and my mom who were adamant from the time I learned to read, would tell me to flip over a box and go, if it has high fructose corn syrup, Molly, that will kill you. Stay away from it. So from the time, literally, before I could read a book, I had to take a box, flip it over, and look. And the first 5 ingredients would be high fructose corn syrup. Too. So
and that's probably for your own benefit to be allergic to that, because you don't want to put that in your body.
No. So the real McCoy.
and cane sugar. And that was way back in early 2000s when I was like, I got to start being considerate of
Oh, absolutely.
this corn syrup nonsense.
I'm with you on that.
What is the connection with eating kosher and God?
You know, my mother saw the Messiah, now waits for it. So I'm a bad Jew because I love eating pig.
Yeah. What's your favorite?
But you know
what's
what?
your favorite swine? Delicacy?
I mean, I don't discriminate. Give it at me. No, kosher back in the day they saw it was unsanitary. So when we were back in Egypt's land, we saw, people are getting sick from eating swine. You know what? We're kosher. You don't eat pig. Now, everything. So that's like the religious. So that's where.
Not that I assume that
my
you
mother
ate
was
kosher.
Mary Elizabeth Ann O'Donoghue. Please,
Yeah,
I've been eating trafe my whole life.
Yeah, well, if I see something kosher, I'm like, oh, I want that. Like, I only eat the Hebrew National hot dogs.
Okay, that's all I grew up on.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, kosher. Yeah, that's.
Put a little bracha on it. You know, it's circumcised.
What is the bracha?
It's a prayer. But
Well, you actually just touched on it right now.
Yeah.
You have a very unique religious experience. What
I
was
do.
your exposure to Judaism and Roman Catholicism?
So, in my household, we were the Jewish faith. I am. My mom converted for my dad, so we are 100%, I'm born and raised Jewish. But my mom was Irish Catholic. So, with that being said, that just doesn't go away. My whole entire life celebrated Easter. My parents just called it the chocolate holiday. They put yarmulkes on the Easter bunny and Hershey's Kisses and said, "Oh my God, Peter Rabbit, shit everywhere. Oh my God, happy Easter." I thought every Jew celebrated Easter. How did I know? Christmas, we would always go to my mom's Senate. That's my other family. We went and had Christmas. So it was nice. And also, too, I was raised going to church. I love going to church. Mass. Love going to Mass. I find that, God is God. And in the Jewish faith, what I love is that we always say God's everywhere. No matter if you're in your bedroom, no matter if right now, that's the luxury of our faith is no matter where you go, God's everywhere. So it doesn't matter if it's a church, it's a temple, it's a mosque. It's a God.
Yeah.
God's everywhere. As long as you have your feet on a solid foundation of morality, it's all good. And that's what I was raised on by my two amazing humans.
I love that. Have your feet on a solid foundation of morality. Did any of your morality come from church?
It came from everything. Absolutely. Some priests don't like when you question or when you say things. But in the Jewish faith, the rabbi is considered a teacher. You're supposed to question. They don't have all the answers. So I always loved in my Judaic studies, I loved when the rabbis would always say, ask us. If we don't know, give us a moment.
Yeah.
We'll find out. And I was raised by my parents to rattle cages from the time I was little. My dad always said, if I teach you one thing, Molly Bernard, answer, ask. That's what life's all about. Life isn't a dress rehearsal.
And who's to say that I know the answer?
Exactly. To the day of my last breath, I'll be learning and finding answers. I define more as Jewish because that's where I had all my studies. That's where I went above and beyond. I didn't just stop at my bat mitzvah. I went to Monday night school. I was confirmed. I mean, my mom goes, nay, I didn't come, this far for you to only come this far. So I had to go the whole 9 yards in my studies. And no, that's a foundation. That's where, that's who I am. I'm proud to say I'm Jewish because especially in 2023,
Yeah.
you have no clue what's going on right now. Anti-Semitism is so high. It is disgusting. It went up 425%. Like, that's mind-boggling.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people being misled. A lot of blaming. If they can't blame immigrants, then they're gonna blame. That's the very unfortunate part about the society that we live in is that I think people are desperate.
Oh,
people are in pain. People are suffering, and it must be theirs or them or them.
But with that being said, especially during this time, it made me prouder of who I am. Again, it made me proud of my upbringing. It made me proud to pick up the phone into my parents and say, you know what? Thank you for raising a Jewish kid because now I know that I have a lineage to teach.
That's beautiful.
So, yeah. So with anything, that's what it is. It gotta proud to be something and proud of what I am.
That's great. What is your understanding of heaven and hell?
Listen, I'm fire and ice, but certain religions don't believe in a hell. That's like the Jewish faith doesn't believe in a hell. But me being me, I always say I'm the devil. I always say, you go to heaven for the climate, hell for the company. So
Oh yeah.
that's how I roll. I mean, see you down there, boo-boos.
So, but as a Jewish person, so do you believe that there is such a thing?
No, so I believe I'm not going where Charles Manson's going.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, me, I do believe you do wrong. There's a place for you.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's repercussions for our actions.
Absolutely.
And that I firmly believe. The actual final destination of heaven or hell, I'm not too sold on. But I do believe that there's repercussions for our actions.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's actually, I study all faiths. And there's one that I found interesting called Kabbalah that is a branch of the Jewish religion that believes something similar to what the Buddhists believe.
Yep.
That one has a predetermined, let's say, purpose. And if one fulfills that purpose, then they're able to enter nirvana. And discovery of that purpose is kind of like your life's mission. What's your opinion of that one particular aspect of the Kabbalah faith?
I love it. I have a bunch of friends that's their foundation. And I believe it's a beautiful faith. But again, I always fall back growing up Patoff. My dad always said for every action, there is a reaction.
Yeah.
No matter what that action is, there is a knee-jerk reaction to no matter what it may be.
Yeah, and not to say that reaction happens immediately.
Exactly.
There's one of the coldest line in cinematic history is from The Gladiator, and I love that movie. I've seen it 1,000 times. And it says, "In this life or the next, I will enact my revenge."
I like it.
And I thought that was the coldest line. In this life or the next. So if I don't get you on this plane, I will get you on the next one.
I
love that.
Well, that's how I felt with you. It's like when you meet people. I swear we're past life friends.
Yeah.
I met you, one time? And I feel like I've walked through, hell and back with you. That's what I'm just saying.
That's beautiful.
But I'm just saying, you meet people.
I would definitely pegged you as an old soul right away.
Right. When you meet people, I always say my authenticity scares a lot of fraudulent human beings.
Yeah.
Because, I'm sorry, you don't like me? Sit back down. It's okay. My life isn't a dress rehearsal. This is a party of life. I got invited to it. So you're not going to screw up my time here.
Yeah, that's great. No, and you shouldn't allow any one individual either to kind of dampen your parade. Like, no, I'm doing me. And
Can't rain on my parade.
That actually, the name of my company is LMLML Productions, and that's Let Me Live My Life.
I
Because I'm going to.
It's live, laugh, love.
Yeah, live, laugh, love.
You're one of those.
No,
God. No, kidding.
I mean, that too. Why not? No, but the point of that is to say that with your permission or not, I intend to live my own life.
And that's how it should. I think that is the lack that I'm seeing that I wish more people would do. Don't be afraid to, look at your life to the person next to you. Everybody has their own journey. It's like the watering, don't water your grass. The foundation under you, your roots. If your roots are deep, go withstand anything. Don't be looking next door. Oh, look at that pasture. Yeah. No. Make sure you're...
Work with what you got.
work with what you got and what you have.
Yeah.
Because...
Yeah, don't long for more, The longing for more is what causes suffering.
Mm-hmm. And let me tell you something. You might be better off than what you're looking at.
Yeah. Yeah. The grass is not always greener.
No.
So what happens when we die?
So I believe... Well, again, my parents are an amazing dynamic duo. To be half of them, I would be fortunate in life. But they raised me from the time I've entered this grand world that we're energy. And you have to be spiritual. And when you do pass, if we're all this alive with air in our lungs, we're so much more when we're not here. So that falls in the stem of spirits and your spirituality. Do have them come to you, your ancestors. And if you're open, not open, signs or whatnot, I have ancestors who are, that's my shrine that you're looking at, that are not there, and they visit me. They come, they make their presence known, but again, that's to each individual in what they're willing to.
Would you consider that entity a ghost, quote unquote?
Yeah. And absolutely, they make their presence known, come to me, reach out. There was so much love in this time of when they had air in their lungs that transcends. I always say love is eternal, whether it's this realm or a different realm that they're reading on. So my Bernard, so I'm named after my grandfather. He died 4 months before I entered this world. I'm his namesake. From the time that I was born, I do things that are him, that freak out my whole family. From the time I was 1 year old, randomly said I'm Molly Bernard. My grandfather always used his middle name. Don't know rhyme or reason. I can't stand my face being touched. My grandfather Bernard can't stand when his face was touched. So there's it's crazy.
So my question is there a let's say a chunk of his spirit that dwells within you, or what's the connection between you and your grandfather?
And I who he was as a person, like my grandmother always said, "What did you just say?" That's your grandfather would always say that. And I go, I didn't stutter. I don't know what I said.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so from never, and I'm the only granddaughter who never met him. Oh. So for someone who's never met him, and my whole life being, did you read that?
Wow.
So that's why I'm Molly Bernard. So in the Jewish faith, you never name after the living. You name after the dead to keep the name eternal. So if the person's alive, let's just say that's wishing death on the person.
Oh, and see, I thought Bernard. I assumed the Bernard name was like a second last name.
No,
I didn't realize that was your middle name, Bernard.
That's my middle name, and I was named after my grandfather, who I didn't have the fortune enough to meet, but I'm his namesake. So keeping the great man alive.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Hope I'm doing you justice.
Yeah, and I do believe that their spirits do not perhaps immediately go and depart from us. I think that their spirit stays as long and until they're ready. Absolutely. Perhaps until all of their living descendants are passed and there's several generations on. And so, you know what? This time has come and passed for me to be on this plane, and I'm ready to move on. And
for
move
helping,
forward.
I believe, when there are certain circumstances that guidance or help or emotion they're very attached to. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And again, it goes to the spiritual. Do you ever think of, oh, that's an old friend. I haven't, thought about them in forever. And all of a sudden, they call you out of the blue. Yeah. That's the spiritual connection. We're all connected. That's not by chance. So that's what I tell people.
No, we're we're all a part of something.
It's a honing. I always say it's like a honing device.
I love that. I love that, and I like the connectivity of our spirit, and that's an ancient idea, that we're all connected spiritually.
We are.
We all branch from the same, spiritual tree, let's say, and I do love that. My interpretation of God is the Tao.
Yeah.
The Tao is all things, including the physical, tangible world, and also the spiritual world. The Tao is all things, and we're all connected in some way, and we're all connected through,
We are.
something. So.
Completely believe that.
So I want to give you a quick anecdote. A part of this entire process, this entire podcast was initially a book, and a part of the book was my Johnny Appleseed philosophy, where every action and every word that I speak, I plant a seed in that moment. And sometimes I plant seed of the light, and sometimes I plant seeds of the dark. My question to you is, what is your ratio of seeds planted with your words and your actions, seeds of the light versus seeds of the dark?
You can't have one without the other. So that's how I live my life. You can't look at stars in the daylight. Stars shine brightly at night. So that's from the time I was little. Without darkness, there isn't light. So that's who I am in a nutshell. So maybe I dabble in the gray.
Yeah. Well, my question though is with your words and actions, like how often? So I like to say, I try to be 10 to 1.
Yeah.
Because I'm human. I speak in anger. I perhaps behave in a manner that's unbecoming of a Buddhist. But
who I am as a person. So to my core, I am cool, calm, collect. But if you think you're gonna do me wrong, I'm 15 steps ahead of you. And how I operate, sometimes you have to play the fool to the fool who thinks they're fooling the fool. I don't miss anything.
I love that.
Welcome, darling. I will sit there, smile on my face, and I'm visualing you burning. So that's just how I operate.
That's perhaps a dark thought.
Exactly. So that's how, but you have to entertain and realize who you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. And sometimes putting a smile on your face and not saying anything is enough to know the nature of the beast that you're dealing with.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't want to burden yourself with those actions where
it's not worth it.
Yeah, the initial, the internal thought of the person, spontaneously combusting into flames is enough to quell any kind of revenge that you may wish to see.
But when someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Yeah, I definitely believe in that. I heard something really neat about like slightly trusting words, slightly trusting actions, but like definitely trust the pattern that
I always say that.
Yeah. Can you elaborate that a little more clearly?
So I verbatim, that's how I live my life. Everybody could give you lip service. I'm Yiddish, so we say Chakachinik, which means talk a good talk. You want to talk a good game to me? That's great. But I'm watching what you're doing. And a pattern, okay, you're not gonna, got it. I know who I'm dealing with now.
Yeah.
I'm entertaining with this. F off. That's how I roll.
Continue on.
You do,
yeah.
boo-boo.
Yeah, continue
you
on
do
between
you
you
do
and
you.
everyone around you, and
right, exactly.
You're their problem, not mine. Yeah,
exactly.
Totally.
Not my circus, not my McGinkies. That's how I operate.
With so many doomsday vibes, I think we must get right with God. How does one get right with God?
Actually, I think that's a personal thing. I think to get right with God, gotta get right with yourself. Remove the God. Be okay with you. There are so many people who are so desperate to be in a relationship that they don't love themselves. That's why they're falling out. It's not that the marriage fell apart. They don't know who they were when they entered a marriage or they entered a relationship. The first love you should ever have in life before your higher power is yourself. That's who you're counting on every single day. A partner, yes, amplifies, but if you're not okay with this,
yeah,
you're not okay with this, you're not okay with this.
Yeah.
So get right with you.
I love that. Absolutely.
And that's just me.
Yeah, no, 100%. I 100% agree. No, I mean, yeah, a lot of people, they look to deity as a separate entity that I must follow these specific rules in order to live this specific path.
Rules are meant to be broken.
Yeah, and not to say that God even cares about these rules, right? I mean, these are
Exactly.
rules that were made up by man.
That's why my balls are bigger. I call mine ovaries.
Yeah. I told my
Gotta
daughter
be
that today.
embedded.
I was talking about huevos. So like, girls got huevos too, bro. You're tripping. Like girls got bigger ones, and they're one more well protected. Anyway, I forgot where I was going with that. No. We're talking about getting right with the self,
Yeah.
and specifically about the journey towards inner peace, because that's really my focal point. So in order to obtain inner peace, I must find peace within myself.
You have to.
It is absolutely impossible to do any sort of outward, as you mentioned, peace in a relationship.
Yeah.
How can that person love who I am if I don't know who I am?
And that's working on trauma. Okay, so that's traumas and breaking
Yep.
patterns,
Yep.
mental. That's all of that. And I like to say for myself is, yeah, it's great to put on a face mask at night. It's okay to take a bath, and that's great for some people for mental health. But no, mental health and really working on yourself is coming head to head with whatever screwed you up as a kid, going, yeah, this is not okay. Let's talk about this. Let's break the pattern. Once you break that pattern and you say, I'm not doing this in my relationship, I'm not doing this in my day-to-day, I'm severing the umbilical cord is cut, and you're living in your truth, that to me is the first step of everything, of your true definition of loving yourself and mental health. That to me is the maintenance of, your day-to-day instead of, putting on the face mask, that gets you so far.
Yeah, no, this is self-care, and any form of self-care I think is a positive thing.
Absolutely.
But there's definitely the surface level self-care, and then there's that internal level self-care, and that's what I think you're referring to.
And I always tell my friends,
internal level.
Let's get uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. We're taught as a society to be stifled by even wanting to talk about it. So I always say I'm the safe zone.
Yeah.
I rather you call me and you tell me your horrific day, or you tell me the crazy thoughts that you're having.
Yeah.
I'll vent to me. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, no, let's put a pin in that, because I actually have several questions regarding that thing.
Okay.
I believe that greed is the root of the suffering of humanity. Can that greed be quelled?
I always say that too. I mean, it corrodes a vessel.
What is the vessel you refer to?
Your your body. That's again, my parents put that seed in me from the time I was little. Hate, greed, and all that. I say my parents because they are beyond amazing, and the things that they instilled in me are values that people always go, "What, Molly?" Like, I'm like, yeah, this is what I was raised with. And just what you're saying, your question, my parents always said, Molly, if we're eating, you're eating.
Yeah.
And they've had friends in their life, and they said, if we're eating, they're going to be eating at our table. And they might not have it at this time, but we might not have it at a time. Right now, we're blessed to be able to be okay. And in life, it's always good to give a hand, because you never know. Be okay with living below your means and being okay with what you have. And I always say that people who are showing off or ostentatious,
but I would have to
it.
say that you are the exception, not the rule.
Yeah,
That not everyone behaves or thinks in this manner.
I know.
So when you look to the greater
This is why I'm
society,
single.
selfish motherfucker.
But I'm ready to mingle.
So when you look to the society at large and you see the
horrific.
greed and the corruption that
Yeah.
exists, do you think that can ever be quelled?
It can, but again, it's finding your core people, and that's okay.
So
If
just
it's
make that circle and make
and
that
you-
circle tight, and
Right.
within that circle you're protected from the
Right,
greed of the
exactly.
world. I love that.
And that's, again, my parents always say, sometimes in life you can't pick your family, but you could pick your friends.
Yeah.
And they become the family you choose.
Yeah, family by choice. Yeah, family by blood or by choice.
Right,
That's my expression.
exactly. And again, they would always say, Molly, you got to be okay with eating alone, But you got to be okay when you're at your table. There are certain people at your table who have certain things that you don't have. They all bring something to the table. It's like a potluck. Be okay. We're Jews. We always have food.
I love that. No, I love that. I love that.
So that's
I love that creating your circle and creating your community. And that
Yeah.
community can be tight as it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, you want to be. I mean, personally speaking, I'm speaking as you, but personally speaking, I want to give and I want to share and I want to spread, love and even food.
Yeah.
I've been learning as I've gotten older that I must keep that tight core.
Yeah.
And within that core, within that circle, let's say, is
Your ride or dies.
we are one particular way within the circle, and outside of that, I have no control.
You can't.
So I don't dwell on it either.
You have to. What you're able to control is what you focus on.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, realistically, all you can control is the self.
Mm-hmm.
I can hope and encourage, and even my children, I can hope and encourage and want them to be a certain way, but at the end of the day, they're going to be themselves.
To lead a horse to water. Can't have it, drink it.
Yeah, exactly. So how do we fix a government so engulfed by greed?
I mean, this goes back to when we were all in Egypt's land. It's the same thing. It's a vicious cycle.
Of greed and corruption.
Yeah.
Can you describe the immorality of money's influence on our government?
It's embedded in us every single day. We're led by it. I mean, we're a country, other countries take off and they want you to be with your family and relax. We're embedded to the dollar.
Yeah. Worship.
From the time we're little, if you think about it, from the time you're in school, what's your career?
Yeah.
You're 5.
What are you going to do?
I want to be a fire hydrant. That I can't be a fire hydrant.
Yeah. You know what's funny now that you made me think of something? So there was this conversation in, I left that school in 2nd grade, so it had to have been at max 2nd grade. And there was this, my classmate named Kayla, and the teacher had us write down what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I said, I want to be a hockey player. And I was playing floor hockey. I hadn't even been on the ice yet. But she said, I don't want a job. And the whole class scoffed. And she said, I don't want to work. Why would I want to work? And even at the time, I remember looking, I was like, oh, no, that's not the social norm. I scoffed as well. And then now looking back, I'm like, man, that girl figured something out. That girl at 6 years old that figured something out. She realized, no, I don't want to work. Yeah. There's people who don't work. I mean...
Right, exactly. And I'll never forget. So I got in trouble when I was in kindergarten because the teacher asked what all of our parents did for a living. And it was my turn. And I thought, well, one, it's none of her business. I don't know why we're all put on, what do your parents do? And this is at 5. I thought this was so wrong of a teacher to, what does your parents do? That I just said my dad was a serial killer. And then my dad laughed. My dad goes, well, why did you tell her that? I'm like, because it's none of their business what you did for a living. And my dad's like,
hilarious,
you know what?
that your brain went to that, though.
And my dad goes, I'm proud that you did that. Very good. He's
the teacher definitely hit me up and was like, what in the world is she talking about?
And I said it was great. It was good dental. But it's like, I'm glad you threw the dental in there, Molly.
That is hilarious. What do they do? You said dental?
My dad was a broker for himself. And my mom was a juvenile PO for the North Shore. So before a delinquent went to prison, they had a deal with my mama.
Awesome. Hopefully she treated them fairly.
Of course she did.
Yeah.
My mother is not called Saint Mary for a reason.
Really? Is her name Mary?
Her name's
Mary. I love
Mary.
that Mary. My grandmother's name was Mary. Yeah, it's a beautiful name. And the reason why I'm a Catholic, not a Christian, is because I believe that there's power in Saint Mary.
Yeah.
Because would she not have been like the best mom? Like she's like the epitome.
Yes.
Yeah, she was probably a great mom. So anyway.
Absolutely. Yes, exactly. So that's why I call her. I'm like, Saint Mary.
Will the will of the people ever be heard over the interests of the oligarchy?
Do you lead?
No. Your turn.
No, you go first with it because I'm like, I could go on so many tangents with this.
I mean, I think the simple answer is no. I think that, honestly, I have hope for the government. I really do. But change won't happen until the entire system comes crumbling. You know, you look at the water crisis in California, they won't have any action until the entire system stops. Like there was just recently there was six of the 7 states all came together and said, this is the plan. We must reduce consumption immediately. And California said, boink, I have the water rights.
Yeah.
So I will sue if you try to stop. And it's like, you're not thinking practically. If you think practically, there will be a point in which water no longer flows south of this basin, and you will be without water.
It's the greed thing. That's what I'm just saying too.
Yeah,
Whom you're talking to, where you define your politics. You know, where you see where people align, where they're like, oh, you're going.
But the oligarchy is not a left or a right.
No,
the oligarchy is.
It's again, it's like morality. Like, this is what it is. Eventually, there's going to be no water.
Yeah.
And are we going to do this the right way, the correct way, or figure, boop?
Well, keep running this.
Right, exactly.
Keep running this water until the tap turns off.
Right, exactly. Which is scary, and
yeah, and there are interests that will not stop until everything is. They have it all.
I know.
Jeff Bezos is on track to being a trillionaire.
I know. It's
all right. Next question.
All right.
And I think we did touch on it already, but my question is, how do I keep the suffering of the world from preventing my peace?
Let it go. Only focus on what you can control. It's so easy to go out in the world and you're affected by everything. But that dwindles on you as a person. What can you control? What are you going to allow to encompass in your day-to-day? Focus on that. Focus on who you are as a person. Focus on trying to be a light for someone who you see is broken and who just needs you just to be present. Someone who's going through hell. Go through hell with them. Walk it like you own it. Maybe that's what it's about. Focus on what you can control.
No, and I respect that, but at the same time, as a Catholic, I would say that is not my cross to bear.
Yeah.
So at the same time, I do hope and I wish and I want everyone that I love to feel this feeling that I feel.
Yeah, but that's not everybody.
But at the same time, I must make some separation between
boundaries.
myself and them.
For my people, who I know they've got me. But other people out there...
Is it required to have reciprocity or...
No, because sometimes in life you just showing up for one person's, that's what you need. I don't
for
need,
yourself.
I don't want it back. I was able to sit in the dark with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good with that.
You were able to sit in the dark while maintaining your own light.
Sometimes you got to be the light for the person. I'm okay with that. That's my cross to bear.
So you're not worried about, let's say, overextending yourself?
No, it's called boundaries.
Okay.
That's why I always say, I don't miss anything. You see the people who are going to your well and who are consistently going to your well to better their life. Guess what? This well is dry, like the Sahara.
Well, I guess my question is, at what point do you draw that boundary?
I'm a light switch. I'm cool, calm, collect. am your ride or die. I always say, you're either by my side, behind me, or you're in my effing way. That's how I roll. I'm who I am consistently. Mm-hmm. Some people, it might take a week, 2 years. But when that person shows you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
And I'm a light switch. I'm on, but once that light switch is off, if you're on fire, I wouldn't spit on you. But again, that's how I roll. When I'm done with someone, I am done.
So on the subject, on the same subject,
which is good or bad thing, though. That could be my toxic trait.
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
So on the same line, though, of protecting one's peace,
you have to.
How does one keep and maintain peace when groups of misguided people hate Jewish people indiscriminately? Do you just put your blinders on and just say,
no,
yeah, I'm not gonna...
You're born into it. That's why I'm a wolf. I have so many, my wolf pack is the wolf pack I make. I don't care what is said about me. I wear it like a badge of honor. I don't care. I'm happy with who I am. Say what you want to say. Do what you want to do. My mouth may run away with me, but my actions will always tell you my character and my integrity.
Yeah.
That's how I take that.
I love that. Easier said than done, though. I don't know what it's like. I don't know what it's like to be an African American in this society. I don't know what it's like to be,
Yeah, it's
a Jewish person in this society.
And that's what I'm just saying. And people go, and it's funny, it's a religion. To me, we go, I hate the Jew. You hate a religion, and our religion is the one that accepts everybody. We don't care if you're gay.
Yeah.
We're one of the only religions
rabbis.
who's accepting. We accept women. We have women who are rabbis.
Yeah.
I find it baffling when we are, as a group, as a society, as a culture, who are a melting pot. We're like fondue. It's just you can't wrap your head around the hatred, but
or any hatred at all.
You have to love it harder then, I guess.
On the subject of grief, can someone be sad and at peace?
Absolutely.
Can you think of a time?
Yes. There was a situation in my life. I mourned a loss of a family member, but I'm at peace with that choice because it's how I had to continue my life to survive. So absolutely. Mm-hmm. You mourn what was, but you embrace what is to become. Yeah. And sometimes losing yourself is finding yourself.
And I think sometimes, too, there is like a before and then there's an after. Mm-hmm. There was a before this person's passing and then there's an after. And perhaps I'm a different person than the person that was before. And maybe that's not a bad thing. That's not necessarily a negative thing.
And I view passing as it could be an end of someone who is still alive on this earth. And you sever that relationship and you never talk to them again. So I've used that as the grief in the passing. Mm-hmm. Or them, too, as them being deceased from this realm. So there's two ways to take that. And
how have you dealt with grief?
I think everybody is different how they dealt with grief. It's either some people don't want to talk about it, but I come from a family where we're realist and you have to let it go. I mean, they just don't, can't sit with grief. You have to let it out. So you have to, you can't shove it down, whether it's talking, whether it's journaling, whether it's, singing, whatever your outlet is, you have to express it. But not doing anything that alone is a vessel that could be not okay with a body.
Yeah, so sitting with it and letting it dwell.
Yeah. I'm not a
the only thing that needs to be avoided.
Because I think the worst thing for a human is to be stuck in here.
Yeah. I sometimes find and getting stuck is not necessarily, your own fault either.
Yeah.
And sometimes I find a creative endeavor.
Oh yeah.
Grief. And
you're causing me agony.
I know. Well, the reason why I wanted to converse about grief is
absolutely,
because
we should.
The purpose of the book, initially was to discuss peace in general, and then it became how do I, as Justin, obtain inner peace, and then I realized that I kept finding it, and I would paint and I would do all these other things, and I kept finding it, and then I'd lose it. So then it became, how do I obtain perpetual inner peace? And then I start, whenever you ponder anything, you hit the corners. Mm-hmm. Well, how do I obtain and keep inner peace when I'm grieving? How do I obtain an inner peace when there's so much pain and suffering in the world? There's these different things and factors that come into play. One of those is, grief and loss and self-harm. And there's something really beautiful that you did, and the reason, and probably one of the reasons why I was so eager to have a conversation with you specifically is, I don't know if you remember this, at the end of 2020, Stephen Twitch Boss,
yeah,
a seemingly very happy person, died by suicide.
Yeah.
And you posted a very long and very sincere message of love
Oh.
to your social network. What compelled you to write this post? What compelled you to speak on this subject?
It's who I am as a person. I always say I'd rather be the light in someone's life and someone's safe spot. I don't care if you have no one to count on. You could always count on me. And I always say I don't care if it's 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. You say, Molly, I'm here. It's a phone call. You're on a ledge. I will talk to you. There is nothing that you cannot not say that would offend me, that would hurt me, that would startle me. I'm here, and we will get through it together. And to know that you have one person who has you, that's all you need in life. If you have one cheerleader. So I always say, if you need me, I'm here. That's just who I am. And someone could be dying inside, but they smile and you would never know.
Yeah.
So when someone says, hey, I'm here for you, sometimes that's all that someone needs is a relief and to let the weight go off.
If Molly needed somebody, who's Molly going to call?
I know who I have, who are my core people, who I'm like, listen, I need you. And they're like, okay, what do you need? Yeah.
But it's so beautiful that you have that, because not everybody does.
No, and that's why I emphasize to people, I'm like, don't ever be afraid to call me. I don't say what I don't mean. That's just who I've been since the time of birth.
Yeah.
And it's hard, and people don't talk about mental health. People don't want to talk about mental health. People don't want to get uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. Yeah. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, and there's a crisis in America. I think that it's epidemic. My question is, can we lump our screen addiction, the decline of face-to-face interactions, and our mental health crisis into one problem?
I don't know where this has come from, but I have always said it's not a pandemic problem, the interface, like the connecting with people. I think it's a society problem, because from the time I was little, I don't know why people hide behind a phone, or, now these kids have, their iPads, or they have social media. We didn't have that growing up. There was no Twitter. There was no Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, we're old enough that came when we were in high school.
High school, yeah.
That's when, we had it. That was our form of social media. Before that, we had to talk. I mean, I had a beeper. If I didn't answer a beeper, so I'm old school. I'm the type of person, I don't text you. I want to hear your voice. People to this day, all my friends, some of my friends go, you text me, oh my God, what's wrong? I want to hear your ha ha ha, your he he he, or your no no no. Like, I want to hear that. I want to hear the passion that you had a shit day. I want to hear the passion
the frustration.
Right. I want to hear how, oh my God, I went on a date and this person's the love of my life, Molly. Oh my God. I want to hear that excitement. I want to hear what gets your socks a-going, what gets your engines, what awakens your core. I want to hear that. A text? Anybody could text. We're all on a phone. But I want to hear you.
Yeah. And you can always detect a lie a lot quicker in a physical conversation.
Again, I go back to authenticity.
Yeah.
I want to know you. And that's how I am as a person. I mean, it's great texting. Yeah, see you in 5, here. This is what this is. It's a vessel of communication, but it shouldn't be a communication in which we hide behind. And
lie behind.
Right, exactly. So that's where I tend to be a little bit different than people.
Yeah.
But I've been that way my whole life.
Yeah, and I think that might be a symptom of something a little bit grander. I think that when people begin to, as I gotten older, I think that people are starting to see, well, these conversations are better. These conversations face to face are better. Even in the same room are better over the phone. I think that people are beginning to accept that these conversations, I don't know, I haven't been on the dating scene in a long time, but
it's horrid.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
it's pen pals.
Yeah.
People want to hide behind an app, or people want to hide behind their phones.
I guess I'm being optimistic, and I hope that these people will eventually figure it out. That
Yeah,
it's better to converse in
one
person.
could hope. We could hope, but yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I don't understand the people hiding behind. At the end of the day, I'm an old mentality. I'm a face to face. I want to see your put 'em. I want to see your expression. I want to see I ruffled your feathers. Like, ooh, went too far with my mouth. He didn't like that, or she didn't like that.
Yeah, you can't see a scowl over text.
Right, right, exactly. That's what I said. So that's why I laugh too. So a lot of my friends, I do voice messages. So my core knows. So you're talking about text messages, like they know to open my, like it's a voice, like I send voice messages to my core group. That's how we only talk, is through voice messages, or we all video through Instagram or Facebook Messenger, so we can all talk and all see each other.
That's awesome.
That's what I do, is communication. One's in Arizona, one's in New York, and we make our time.
Who is in?
So my best friends. So Michelle's in Arizona with her husband. Allie is in New York with her husband, and the three of us every single day are either we talk every single day.
This is the core.
This is the core.
Where did you meet this core?
We all grew up together,
Cool.
and this is our founding core. And there's literally no day we all have problems. We take on that problems together. Life happens,
Face to
and
face,
we got
voice
you.
to voice.
All right, we
Yeah.
got you. Here's my voice. Here's my funny joke. All right, talk to me. Lay it on. You got us.
That's wonderful. Great to have that. Not something that everyone has.
Yeah. Again, try.
Another factor, I think, a part of the mental health crisis is a lack of purpose. Well, my question is, does everyone have a purpose?
So, I would probably, again, sometimes I scare myself when I speak, but we're taught at a very young age, this is what you have to do. You have to go to school. From going to school, you have to go to college, and you got to do this, and you got to be successful. I think everybody's purpose in life is to be okay with themselves. And whatever that journey is, some people can't do. There are some CEOs who never even went to college, who never graduated even high school. Your purpose is yourself. Finding who you are and being okay with it, that is your purpose in life. If you're being thrown to the wolves and I gotta outbeat someone else, that's not it. And again, that's what I'm saying, having a moral compass and having solid roots. And I say that as a person, you got to be okay with this core, because then you could take on anything, whether it's work, whether it's relationship, whether it's individuals, whatever it may be. You got to be okay with yourself. That, to me, that's your purpose in life, being okay with who you are, or knowing who you are. I know some 90-year-olds who don't know who they are. So if you know who you are, you're okay in life.
This is a separate endeavor entirely, is to discover who one is.
But that's your purpose.
But
so
how does one go about doing that?
What makes you happy? What makes you happy? Okay, if you're at work and you're not happy, well, of course, that's someone else's happiness. You're not happy. Yeah, it might pay the bills. What excites you? You're wasting your time, your purpose. You're not happy. Fix that. What makes you roar?
Yeah.
That's your purpose.
Yeah, I love that.
Hone in on it.
I love that. And I think that finding a sense of purpose, I think, is a lifelong journey, because, there are times in which that painting made me happy.
Yeah.
And if I were to go back and pick up a canvas and pick up the paintbrush as I did previously, I don't think that it would spark that same joy. But at the end of the day, I'm still discovering what my purpose is. And in that moment, I needed to go through that phase where I was painting almost every day. I was doing other artistic endeavors, other creative endeavors, and going to the art museum every day. It really did, as you said, roar, something within me.
Yeah.
But I needed that at that moment. But when I look at like a grander purpose in life, I don't know if perhaps I found it, discussing inner peace and trying to find it and share inner peace. I think that's becoming my purpose in life. It's a great feeling to have.
Yeah.
And I want everyone to feel this way. And how do first get myself to find it. And then from there, how do I help other people find it for themselves?
Right, exactly.
And so perhaps that is the purpose that I'm discovering, for myself. But that's not everyone's purpose, you know. But I think that, as you said, the self-love. I think that if they make that a priority, then the life purpose kind of uncovers itself. Where if I am unhappy at my job, okay, well, either I need to find a new one or work for myself. And I'm able to discover, okay, this does not make me happy, but providing for my family does. So I suffer through this to do that. And maybe my family's my purpose.
Right.
Maybe raising, someone who's going to be strong and independent, that's going to change the world. That's my purpose.
Right. That's your roar.
So that's what it is. So I think that, the grander purpose, finding the reason why I was put on this earth, let's say, is maybe a mystery. But I think that if you start with the self and you discover self-love.
I think you have it. You're connecting people. If you're sitting here, we're having a conversation right now. I think that's you're able to find people and to talk to them and start a conversation. That's a purpose.
Yeah.
People don't know how to put people together and to talk.
Yeah.
And to know it's a safe spot and to speak and to let it out. That in itself is a purpose.
Hey, perhaps, but one cannot pay bills with conversation.
Let's make it happen.
So I mean, why not, right? Why can't I make this both my passion and but there's also a fear with that. So if one were to, let's say, be a painter, and I find
we need to remove fear, and that's what I was always fail in fear. Mm-hmm. That's life.
Well, my question was to make one's passion one's profession is sometimes very scary, because what if I lose the passion because I have to do it every day, because I have to do it on a timeline? Yeah. So that's a fear. And what was your point there?
Well, I was going to say nothing good comes from a comfort zone. You don't know until you don't try.
Yeah. Maybe it's worth it to take that leap.
Go for it. Fly.
Yeah.
Jump, remove the nest.
Well, that's why it's
come to my arms.
Well, that's why it's good to do these things young, right?
Remove the young. Vera Wang didn't sell her first dress until she was in her 40s.
Well, I don't know anything about Vera Wang's history,
just saying.
But we also look at, was she going to go hungry if she was not successful?
But
this is a good question, because there is a certain privilege of, leaping from the nest.
Yeah.
That not everyone has. I come from a class that was poor. I grew up poor.
Yeah. So
I did not have the opportunity to, leap from the nest and discover my passion and travel Rome to discover these things.
Right.
Because I had pragmatic needs.
Yeah.
So if we must also keep this into consideration, because my journey is not to help the affluent achieve inner peace. For sure. My journey is to help everyone find it.
Yeah.
And there are pragmatic needs of the body, food, water, shelter, that I must.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, right. That's everybody.
So
food, water, shelter.
Yeah. So there are other things that need to be considered when I think of my purpose, and I want to find my purpose, but sometimes that's difficult.
Yeah.
I must also provide clothing and food and what.
Right. Exactly.
So it's a bit of a quandary.
No, I'm with you on that, and that's why, again, my parents always hollered at me: you live below your means instead of over your means. You got to be happy with just enough. Got to be okay. You don't know when a rainy day is coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a certain form of humility that I think that everyone has, that I think everyone should have. Even from the beginning, I knew that humility was so important to my journey that I didn't know why. I didn't know they have the exact answer why, but I think that that's a part of it too, is having the humility, one, to learn new things. I can't learn new things if I know everything. Exactly. And to second, have the humility to live below my means, because I don't know when that rainy day is coming, and I don't know what I'm saving for necessarily. Mm-hmm. But,
exactly.
Maybe that opportunity will come, and maybe my purpose is to be like a really dope landlord, or open up a really cool, whatever factory.
I love it. I'm with you on that.
I don't know. So I have a common expression that I use all the time, and I use it in different contexts. But I say, the brighter the light, the bigger the target. And I think that in the small local setting, that is true. And I think in the big grander sense, that is true.
It's very true.
And I think of the very bright lights, the brightest of the lights, MLK, Malcolm X, these are these incredibly bright lights that were squashed.
Mm-hmm.
Even in recent times, Nipsey Hussle, an incredibly bright light that was extinguished. But even in the local setting, I think that you have a very bright light. And I know that you've probably experienced in social settings.
Yeah.
Someone who just is a hater.
Absolutely.
So my question to you is, how do you protect your light?
Know who the hell people are. When your ancestors are standing behind you and you feel that gut reaction, you're getting that for a reason. Know who someone is when they don't need to speak. You already know who is going to rattle your cages, who's already testing your waters. It's for a reason. You can nod your head. You don't need to entertain them. But you can't let their energy affect you. And I always say, people come into your life for an awakening, a reason, a lesson, or a blessing.
One more time.
When I meet human beings, they come in for an awakening. They come in for a reason, a lesson, or a blessing. That's how I view human interaction. So if this person is, I'm getting a feeling from them, that's an awakening. Nay, you're removed. I'm keeping you at arm's length. I know what I'm going to deal with you. A lesson, you have relationships that come into your life, and you entertain them. They taught you something. A blessing, I met you. You're a blessing. You're not just a friend. You're stuck with me for life. No refunds. So that's how I view humans. So when I get that core, we're like, oh my God, this is it's like, whoop, we just go well. Oh my God, this person feels like home. Holding on to that. There's a reason why you're feeling that. Your core, it's an energy. We're humans. We get that spark from people. But if my whole ancestors and I are feeling something from you, better believe I'm just giving you a head nod and I'm keeping my distance no matter what social circumstances I'm at.
My father used the expression that I love. He said, put up your shit shield.
I love that.
And as those, and like monkeys in the zoo, they fling shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And you just put up your shit shield.
But when you feel that, know you're getting that for a reason. That's who they are.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why your core is telling you to be on your game with these humans. Use that for business.
Yeah, having the ability to read someone is largely beneficial in life and in business.
Oh, absolutely. Dude, that's what I do every day.
So we discussed this a little bit earlier, but on the importance of self-love, how well do you love yourself?
My cuppeth runneth over.
How do you find that? How did you manage that?
Actually, stems from my parents. My parents always said, at the end of the day, my dad would always say this: you are you. What you do to this body, what you do to this, he always referred to this as a vessel. Same with my mother. This is a vessel. And how you treat this says everything how you treat others. And you can't treat this wrong, because that means you're going to treat everything else wrong. So when you love this, everything else is okay.
Yeah.
So that stems from my upbringing.
Wow, and it's good to have such a good foundation in self-love because of how important it is in all aspects of life to have self-love.
Absolutely. And
self-love, I think I'm only growing into my self-love now.
So from my two upbringings, this is funny. So my father was raised in the Jewish household where love was thrown around, and that expression is always used. My friends would come over in life, or I would be on a phone call, and I would get made fun of as a kid in school. They'd be like, 1, 2, 3. Oh my God, this was a minute conversation, and you said I love you 9 times to your dad. And then my mom was raised in a household where they never heard it. Never heard it. She lost her father young, and her sibling never heard the word love.
Oh, wow. From her own mother.
Until my grandmother Lottie died on her deathbed is when my grandmother said to my mom, I love you. It's an Irish, whatever it is, the Irish Catholic would never say it. So my dad vowed, and he goes, our children will never, ever know what it's like to not hear that.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
And he goes, and I vow to you, Mary, you will never, you will be sick of this. So it's
funny. I'm one generation ahead or behind you anyway, because my father never heard it from his parents, and not to say they didn't love him.
Right.
And my father, until I think I had a phone call when I was like 25, and my dad was like, "I love you." I'm like, "Oh, okay, bye," and I hung up real quick. And then like from now we say it all the time. Now we say it loosely, but it was simply a generational divide.
Yeah.
That they showed love, and they showed, their affection was providing food, water, and shelter.
Right, exactly.
and really, they didn't have the, I don't know what the word I want to use is, but it wasn't a part of their society.
But words have an impact and a meaning.
Yeah. Yeah, and as I said, my mother did. My mother told me she showed me all the time.
That's why I always say, my dad would always say, proof is in the pudding, Molly.
Yeah.
You don't need, I may not say it, but I always do the right thing. And I always roll my eyes and laugh. I'm like, okay, Dad. But it's true. But also, too, but it always resonated and it hit home even to this day when he would say, Molly, in life, some people never heard that word.
Yeah.
Love.
Strange. It's strange.
And that's what he goes, that was your mother. He goes, and we vowed that you would never, ever know what that's like, because that was not going to be how we were going to do it.
Yeah, to have the question, and even today, I say it's a generational thing, but I mean today that is true for a lot of people. Their parents simply don't express that verbally.
Yeah.
Strange. Strange. My next question. In a world full of paper-thin supermodels, influencers, and photo filters, the photo filters is what gets me the most. Mm-hmm. Is it getting harder to find self-love?
Listen, this girl that's never missed a meal. So, you can't spell stress without spelling desserts. You got to flip it. So, I always say,
I saw a sign of that in a breakfast spot, and I said, stressed spelled backwards is dessert. Like, what?
That's exactly.
That's a cure? Oh my God, I didn't realize so.
And I love me some good desserts. If you know me, I love desserts. I'm definitely a
sweets guy myself.
Exactly. So I always say, again, if you're into the emaciated look, I say, great, go for it. But me, I always think what's sexy is a girl with curves. She's a woman. That to me is sexy, and it's about time that in 2023 we're now starting to see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, and there's definitely with when we all went online and we all have these pages that we need to fill with photos and we need the selfies, and this became a part of the culture. If I were to meet you randomly out in a social event, and say, okay, let me find out everything I need to know about this guy based off his Instagram, his TikTok, his whatever. And when we all went online, I think that we all became a lot more focused on what we look like. And so I can see that's I didn't know that to be true, but I could definitely see it.
And then I was raised in a household where my parents would always say, beauty fades, dumb is forever.
I love that. Yeah.
So if you
Ron
can't,
White has a similar expression.
I guess it stems from the time I was little and who I am as a person. If you don't excite my soul, you don't excite me.
Yeah.
So I don't look at skin deep. I look at the person who you try to hide from the world, or you don't. I love that. I don't care what everybody else sees. I want the person when you're in the shower and you're belting out. That's who I like. That's who you are, and that's your safe space. That's what let out to the world. So.
Well, and not only that, that's what you're going to be with if you were to potentially be with this person forever. Yeah. You're going to see them, bellied out and bloated from their big meal. You got to love the person for who they are, because when you're going to see them at,
worst. Exactly. Yeah. But that's how it should be. But we're still, everybody's stuck on, the filters and that. I can't stand that stuff.
Honestly, the filters break my heart. You know, when I see the filters, and it's like,
I don't use them because it's so unrealistic. I'm like, oh my God, that's not even what I look like.
Yeah. It changes who you are. You know, it's like I got these features from my lineage.
Oh, it's mind-boggling. I'm
And
like,
now
no.
we all want to conform into this one, whatever standard
I
of
was
beauty.
meant not to. I go against this.
Yeah, well,
That's how I roll.
I told you this in the pre-interview that, you know, I really feel like, you know, you're from a different generation, as am I, you know, spiritually anyway.
We are, absolutely.
Will women ever be said equal to men in American society?
Hell no. Hell no. Absolutely not. I mean, you know, this glass ceiling, I mean, you name it, I'm in every male-dominated territory that one could be in. And again, I mean, I've been a ball buster from the time I was little. And no, there's always the male. And no matter what industry or whatever, no. And it's just who we are as a society. I would love it, but that's
Realism.
where, you know, to be realistic, that's where one, if they have daughters, have to instill in them, be a questioner, raise hell. My dad would drop me off to school. My dad would pick me. So my mom would work at the courts, and my dad ran his company at our house. So who I am because I had a male at home versus a female. So when I had a bad day at school, it's not a female giving me advice. I had a male giving me advice. Oh, Dad, this girl was so mean. All right. Well, this is what you're going to say back. This is what you're going to do. Oh, someone pushed me. Well, push harder. Break a finger. Like, so I had a male versus, oh, you know, a lady. Oh, lead with your lip. My dad's like, oh, hell no. Like, I had a male.
They did what? That's
Right,
great.
exactly. That's not. I didn't raise my dad. I didn't raise any pussies. You gotta get out there, Molly. You gotta thanks, Dad. So again, so he goes, you're gonna be a strong woman. You gotta know to put yourself out there. I want you to raise hell. He goes, what my dad always said from the time I was in kindergarten: well-behaved women seldom made history.
Yeah.
I expect you, Molly Bernard, to question, answer, raise hell, and take no prisoners. Is what my dad would always say to me.
Yep.
So from the time I would slam the door from morning kindergarten, I would see you in 4 sesames, Molly. Raise hell and take no prisoners. Here for bail. Thanks, Dad.
Said here for bail.
That
That is hilarious to say to a kindergartner.
And he would,
I got your bail money, baby. Don't worry about what you do.
And he would always say in our house, we do misdemeanors, no felonies.
That sounds like a character.
And I'm the quietest of my family.
Really?
But,
That's awesome.
So that's what my dad instilled in me. You're a female. Life is going to be hard.
Yeah.
He goes, and that's where I go back to there. He goes, you're like a tree, Molly. No matter how long the wind is going to blow at you, you got roots. Your foundation's strong and solid, and you're fine.
Yeah.
Withstand any storm.
Yeah.
So that was from a strong male saying that to me.
Well, it's good to have that platform to stand on.
You have to. And you have girls, so that you have to be their beacon in a world of craziness.
Yeah. Confidence is key for me. That's like the root.
I think I'm triple dipped in confidence.
All right, I have a quote for you.
Okay.
Who said this? For beautiful eyes, look for the good in others. For beautiful lips, speak only words of kindness. For poise, walk with the knowledge that you are never alone.
That is my girl, Audrey Hepburn. Her and Marilyn Monroe are the things that came out of those mouths I love. Like Marilyn Monroe, which she would say, can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. And Audrey Hepburn, they lead with who they are as a person. Like, they are integrity and character. That's who they are. They're both beautiful, strong women who shook up the society and system. Marilyn Monroe was questioned every time she opened her mouth, but people don't know. She was a brilliant mind. Brilliant. Beyond brilliant. Audrey Hepburn, beyond brilliant. And these were 2 women who literally, in their, what you're saying, behind a film in Hollywood, would lead with their mind in a male world where them just looking at, oh, I'm Marilyn Monroe. Oh, I'm Audrey Hepburn.
I'm beautiful.
They led with their mind.
Yep. But people didn't see that though, and I
No.
think that now looking back and we're able to, listen to their quotes and see their interviews, we're able to see, more
They
to
were-
them
their
of what was seen at the time.
Their authenticity.
Yeah, their authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Nice.
And I love those women like that. Like seriously, we go back and now we see it really. These young girls, I wish they could see. Look at what beauty is, not stick thin. Beauty is having.
Yeah, we were talking about
yeah.
Having curves.
Look at Zsa Zsa
Exemplified.
Gabor. Like look
Zsa Zsa.
at what Hollywood was.
Mm-hmm.
Curves. You
Yep.
had a waist. You had a tuchus. You had boobs. You're not emaciated. And I want to give you a cheeseburger and a grilled cheese, and pray that that's going to sustain you for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
They are what you call beauty and brains. And I only wish that these kids would just look at that instead of what they see now. I mean, it's just sad.
Yeah.
It's appalling, actually.
My last question, as always, is: do you have any questions for me?
What makes your fire? What go? What sets your core? What sets your soul on fire?
I mean, when I think about that, I think about passion.
Yeah.
And I've always been a very passionate person. I think that whenever I decided I was going to, this was the route that I was going to take, I pursued it passionately because I had something within me. And perhaps that was, a part of my grandmother's passion that she has for life. And I was always adrift, I felt. But whatever path I chose to dive, I dove down it passionately. And whenever I loved passionately. So perhaps that fire, that passion comes, from my grandmother, from within. And I think
is she still alive? Or is
yeah,
she
my
passed?
grandmother.
Okay.
This is my,
Yeah.
my one grandmother is a very humble person, and my grandmother is one of passion. And I hope that I get to interview her, but she's like, oh, no, I don't feel like it. My back, my neck, da, da, da. So hopefully I'm able to interview her and I'm able to expose to the world how passionate of a person she can be.
Yeah.
But I really do think that doing this, it really is lighting something within me. I do take it seriously, and I spent several hours writing the questions, and I dropped several $1,000s of equipment. And it's something that it brings me passion and it brings me joy. And, what lights the fire within, I think that the fire is there no matter what I choose to pursue. But I think that this is stroking that fire right now.
I love it. I love that for you. I see it on your face, and that's, yeah. And you got to hone in on that, and you got to run with that. Don't be afraid of it. If there's fear, embrace the fear. That's how you know you're about to do something wonderful.
Yeah, there's something to
That's
be said
how I
about
operate.
fear. That my friend Paul said the same thing, where he was like, he's like, you can't be afraid to fail. And I think that
Fail means you're living.
But I think that I haven't put any goals or any finish lines in order for me to fail.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been purposefully.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been because I was afraid to fail. So in order to prevent myself from failing, I never really give myself a finish line. I never really give myself a something to, not reach.
Right. No, for sure. For sure.
So if I were to, hypothetically give myself something to fail, I would say, you know what? Let me try to make this an occupation.
Yeah.
Let me try to make conversing. I've always loved to converse. I don't know if you knew this about me. We've met 6 months ago. But I've always loved to converse. It's a part of who I am. And
Ditto.
if I'm able to, make this a lucrative profession, that, self-sponsorships or whatever I have to do to, make it lucrative, Why not? Why can't I do that? Why can't I get paid to
Absolutely.
do this? Instead of being the camera guy, the audio guy, the editor.
Hey, you're all the above.
I'm just a talent. No,
I love
do
it.
that. You do that.
I love it. I love it.
So perhaps that's the goal in which I either can fail or not fail. But, speaking of fear, maybe I've been afraid to set that goal.
But now you know, and don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because failing is living. And you don't know until you try.
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, though, even without making it a lucrative endeavor, I mean, this was an enjoyable experience. I loved this. Absolutely great conversation.
I get to know about you as a person even more.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are topics of conversation that I have not fully explored, that I'm still learning about. And I think that part is the humility of it. And the humility to say that I have so much more to learn. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really grateful to have you, and I think that this was a wonderful interview. I think that you definitely shed some light on my journey. Thank you so much, Molly, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Any final words?
And I hope you question everything, and I hope you know that this life isn't a dress rehearsal. So give something that your ancestors would have been burned at the stake for.